we must dwell. Get your hustle on and that wealth build. From the dirt to the gold, every story's untold. Cash flow Savannah, where ambition takes hold. Started with $1, stretched it to a mile. Every setback just to set up
Welcome to Cash Flow Savannah. Chandler, how are you today?
I am doing good. It is finally seeing some sunshine. So
Yes.
it has been raining and some more raining. So
August has been nothing but rain. I can't even believe how bad it's been. Although I am thankful that we have a lot of rain, but no hurricane, and I'm good with that.
yeah, no, I agree with that. That's a good. Always find a good in something. That's definitely
That
a
is
good sign. So
Chandler, this time last year, I think we were on our second hurricane
yeah, for
and
sure.
barreling towards a third. Well, the third really hit Florida, but it really affected us because we got all the guests from Florida. And 2024 will go down in history with me for a very tough summer. Very tough.
Yeah, those hurricanes were nothing to mess with. I'll tell you that.
We had three hurricanes and a drive-by shooting last year. So this year is immeasurably better compared to that. We are already like killing it.
I didn't even think about that. That was all last year, huh?
That was, I want to say August 6th of 2024, something like that. And I hope to
Wow.
never call you again at 7 a.m. and tell you
Yeah,
I'm headed to your house to pick you up.
that's been
That
pretty
was rough.
good.
That was rough. We have a new guest of the week here at Sid Was Here, Chandler. I woke up to a message and I was like, did I just read that? Is someone punking us? Like, what's going on with our guest of the week? Tell us the story. This is a good one. You're not going to want to miss this.
Oh, the new guest. I know where this is going. Oh, you're talking about our little bat. That's
Yes.
the guest of the week. That's another story that we can add to our stories, I guess. A couple weeks ago, we had a bat in one of our units.
Allegedly. There was
Yeah.
no proof. There was no evidence of the bat. Just we were told that there was a bat.
I don't know too much about bats, but this guest knew everything about bat. And honestly, if I saw a bat in the unit, I would just I don't know, I would just try to probably get it out. But this guest was like, I'm going to the hospital, quarantining.
He needed a
Maybe you're
refund.
supposed yeah, full refund. Maybe you're supposed to do with that with bats, but I don't know too much. I would just kind of shoot it out of there and went on with it. But they did the whole we had to get our insurance involved, blah 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 blah. Turned out to be a pretty big issue.
Yeah, they said, I've been exposed to a bat, so therefore I have to go to the ER. And we were like, what? Like, I've
Yeah.
never heard this. This home has no open chimneys. All I could figure is maybe it got in the door. They had no evidence of a bat, no photos, I don't even know. I read that in the notes of the day, and I was like, well, there's a new one I've never heard. There's a bat, and you've been exposed, and you have to go to the ER for being in the same room with a bat. Like, I've been in the same room with bats a million times. Heck, I grew up near Mammoth Cave. Like, I never went to the ER for bat exposure afterwards. Like, it didn't even touch the guy to our
No,
knowledge.
no. Yeah, that's what I don't know. Can you be exposed? I thought you had to get bitten like you did.
So we are not that educated on these ways, but I have to say it was one of the most creative ways we've been asked for a refund in a while. And we get asked for
Yeah.
refunds, multiple times a year, obviously, for different reasons. But I'm going to give that guest, that's why I'm making them the guest of the week. Like they
Just
got me on that one. If you can hit me with an excuse I haven't heard before, I'll give you the guest of the week.
Yeah, they went all out. He was quarantining. I'm not going to the track meet. I was kind of like, all right. I didn't know too much what to do, honestly. I was kind of like, if I felt bad, I would just not care at all, honestly.
I would want it out and I would get it out for sure. It
Yeah,
seems like you could turn
I
on
would
the
want
lights
out.
and it would go out the door if it was dark.
Yeah, just another story that kind of goes. This is kind of the learning lesson that we can kind of bring into this. This is kind of just what I'm thinking right now. You're like, oh, hasn't been as crazy of a year. Just to go back to it, you say the Karens are the ones that are in the cheap properties. And this is one of our cheap properties. The cheap properties always have the complainers. And
Thousand percent.
we've
That's
gotten
awesome.
rid of a lot of the cheap properties, and it's been a lot quieter. It's interesting.
It has been interesting. And you're right, Chandler. It's been a good year. As property managers, we have to look and go, okay, we're here to make a profit. And if a property is so much work and effort that we're losing money, which we have done at Sid Was Here, if we're spending 5 to 10 man hours every turnover, that management fee is not covering that. And so this property isn't one of those by any means, but it is not luxury. So it is, we have had to drop the rates to get guests inside because the, expectation has gone higher. And you're right. I didn't think of it that way, but sure enough, it's attracting more of the guests that are very much wanting to say anything to get a refund because because they don't have that $300 or whatever.
Yeah. I would say if it's in the like 120 to 150 a night, anything less than that, it's just like, seems like those guests are, they get on to you now. They
Yes.
find something.
That's our guest of the week. God bless him. Hope he's okay. That was quite a shocker. Anyway, thought we would cover
Another
that
movie.
today. Well, Chandler, I have a little surprise for you. It's not your birthday, but I'm sure you're going to feel like it is. And actually, it's really more of a surprise for our customer service team because I know that you don't, even though your bot answers the phone, but you aren't actually personally answering the phone. But we are doing something different at Sid Was Here. And I just wanted to show you how excited I am. Look at our new for rent signs. What do you think?
I like them. They look good.
Yes, they do look good. And it says Sid Was Here. In case you're not watching, we have added a giant QR code to our for rent signs. We always put up a yard sign. You would not believe how many neighbors have friends, and they would love for their friends to move in next door to them. So we love a good yard sign. And Chandler and I both run around Savannah quite frequently putting up these yard signs. But we're adding a QR code. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, Chandler. When we first started putting up these signs, this is how I look at it, okay? And I want your input. If I see a house for sale or for rent, let's say, and I'm interested, which is very frequently I am because I'm in real estate, I park next to the house and I go to Zillow and I pull up my location and I look at it. You know what I mean? Like it's not that complicated to me. I would never like call someone and ask them on the phone. What are your thoughts? What would you typically do when you see a yard sign?
Google it.
Yeah.
You Google the house. Yeah. I would never call. I don't really care to talk to people. I would just
Same.
Google it. Most people just want to know the price. Hey, can I afford
Right.
this or not? That's kind of the first thing I want to know. Hey, is it in my price range?
Right.
So
You go, "Would I
Google.
like the neighborhood?" Yeah, exactly. But when I first started going through the phone logs, I realized that over half of our calls were people seeing the yard sign and calling the number and asking the rental amount. And I'm just like, why aren't they going to Zillow or whatever else? Everything is out there if you just type in the
Yeah.
address, but maybe the address is hard to see. And so our poor customer service team they can't handle it. They just can't handle it half the time. Sometimes it's 48 calls and sometimes it's zero. So we're now adding QR codes because hopefully maybe 30-50% of those people will do the QR code and just pull the info up for themselves. That's what we're hoping. So one thing that we do a lot here at Sid Was Here, and quite frankly, any property management company, we have to train the tenants. And so I realized that my yard sign was training them to call. And so now I'm trying to train them to not call and use the QR code. It really helps us out for people to use their cell phone. And, for example, maintenance, we're still trying to train our tenants. We need you to go to Appfolio and put in a work order. Don't call us because then we have to write it down for you. And in the state of Georgia, interestingly enough, these work orders do need to be in writing for them to be valid. Like technically, if they call, we don't have to do it. Now, of course we do. I'm not saying we don't, but for a tenant to slam us later for not doing something, if there's no written record, we're good. And so we're trying to now train our tenants like, hey, we're happy to take your call. Like, it's not really about the phone, but we do need you to go ahead and put that in your portal, so that we have a written record. So anyway, just a little tenant training tip for the day.
Yeah, no, let's see how it works. I think it's a good idea. Hopefully they're smart enough to, hey, let's try this QR code out. But we'll see. Maybe the next thing is just no phone number.
We
QR
have
code only.
compliance issues. I
Yeah.
actually could have left off our phone number. I have to have my broker's phone number on there for compliance purposes. That is state law, but I just didn't want to slam the broker with phone calls either. So I did put both because we love Remax. But yeah, no, honestly, it's surprising in this day and age how many people do call because to me, most people like yourself and myself, they don't want to call if they can pull the info for themselves. But for whatever
Yeah.
reason, we have a very heavy call volume.
Especially with long-term renters, what I've noticed is like a lot of just tire kickers. They call and they know they can't even afford the place or like don't even meet the requirements. And so when we first started with long-term rentals, we were meeting everybody at the property, which was a mess. And we get there, and, oh, can you take 200 credit score? And I don't make enough to afford this, but I still want to look at it. And I'm like, no, like why are we here?
Right, exactly.
All for the same deal. It's like we'll get a call and it's just like, hey, like I'm sorry, wasting time.
Yeah, if you're ever on the Facebook forums, you'll see people posting on there, I'm looking for a private landlord. And that's code for I have no income and bad credit. And a professional property manager like Sid Was Here is going to be like, sorry, we have our parameters and we are going to stick to them. That's our job. But yes, they I have seen that many times where they want to sell their story in so that they can not parameters. And I mean, it's tough. Like things are tough. I totally get that. But, we are bound by the rules set up by the owner of the property and we're going to stick to them. And I'll never forget, I went to meet a tenant at a property. This is several years ago. And oh man, this poor woman, it was terrible. She had lost a child. Like she had this whole story. And I felt so bad for her. But at the end of the day, it was a waste of both of our time. And so that's where I prefer for them to just find the parameters out in advance and let's just not waste time because we just can't do it. So
A lot of that in long-term rentals. So you don't even know if to believe the story or not because you hear so many stories.
I usually do believe them, but again, we have to treat everyone the same. And honestly, I throw the government right back at them with HUD laws. If we set parameters in the ads, we do have to follow them and we can't be breaking those for one guy because if we break it for Mr. Smith, then we have to break it for everyone. And, my brokerage, myself, we can get in big trouble for doing that. So we actually are bound by the law to set a standard and we do have to go by that, so unfortunately, there's really not much we can do about it. We do feel terrible for anyone in a tough situation, but unfortunately, there's just not much we can do.
I think the standards that are set are most of the time the tenants, with our standards that we have set, are great tenants. I feel like when people go below those standards, it normally gets a little.
Very true. And most tenants that we've placed, I don't think we've ever evicted. I guess we did. We have one over on 51st Street. We did evict one tenant that we had placed, very young, bless him. But, for the most part, we have only evicted tenants that we inherited, not necessarily tenants that we placed ourselves. So, that's good. It's tough. It is very tough being a property manager. We want to do a good job. We want everyone happy. And sometimes it works out perfectly and sometimes it doesn't. So, but that's why we have a job because most owners, they don't want to deal with all the drama. And that's what we get paid to do.
We deal with some drama, all right?
Oh yeah, we even have wild animals flying through units and people running to the ER.
What season are you getting ready for?
Oh, I'm gearing up. It's short-term rental season. I love short-term rental season. End of summer in Savannah, it was literally impossible to show any short-term rental on the weekend. It still won't be, to be honest. We can't show on weekends. I've had a million people go, I'm going to drive in from Wichita, this weekend to see a short-term rental. And I'm like, well, you can drive by the outside. I will not be walking you inside on a Saturday, but it is short-term rental season. This is best time of year to buy a licensed short-term rental and use it as a tax deduction. I think we have talked about this on this episode, on this show, but President Trump has reinstituted the 100% depreciation for this year. So we have a lot of people looking for short-term rentals. I am scouting them constantly. I'm going to 2 more today for clients. I'm very excited. So we're gearing up. But the other thing that we're gearing up for is October in Savannah is money, money, money. That is our second busiest month after March, if you can believe that. And I think October in Savannah is really exceptional. It's my favorite month to be here, actually. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. We don't have the leaves that change like other places, unfortunately, but it's just really beautiful in October. So we're kind of gearing up for that. It's very exciting.
Yeah, no, I like October too. A lot of events coming up, some good events too. Savannah with the In-Market Arena has some good events coming in, so that keeps it busy as well. But yeah, no, it's tough to get in. That's funny if people want to come in. Oh, I come in for a weekend. I think our units are booked every single weekend,
They
just
are.
about the year.
Right.
So,
I've had a million buyers say that, well, I'll come on the weekend. And I'm just like, okay, well, I can't show you anything, but feel free to drive around. Like they will not, they're not going to move guests out for anyone to show it. I mean, they're just not. One thing interesting that I wanted to bring up to you, speaking of short-term rental season, Chandler, as I have been going really hard with some people looking for short-term rentals. And of course, I love that. And it was interesting. I have some individuals looking in the historic district. Of course, it's a high price point. It's, it's not $400,000. It's much higher than that. I took them to a bunch of showings and then later that week, we did another showing. And it happened to be that this other showing was with one of the agents that we had looked with before. Obviously, 2 different listings, same agent. And may I say, very talented agent, has sold a lot of short-term rentals, nothing against the agent. But my client gave me the most interesting feedback. I was really surprised. We were sitting in the living room discussing the home that we were in. And I brought up the other one that happened to be with the same agent because I had really liked it. I said, I still really like that other one. And my client, he shook his head. He said, no. He said, I don't trust this agent. And I said, what? Like, what do you mean you don't trust the agent? I was really surprised because the agent is competent, extremely competent. And he said, this is the second home I've been in. I've taken these people like 10 houses, okay? And he said, both houses that I saw presented by this agent, the photos were insane. And I wanted it immediately. I wanted it. And I come inside and I'm underwhelmed. I don't like it. He said, I now don't trust this person. And I thought, how interesting. And that really applies to our short-term rentals in general. We want to have the best pictures and people book just on photos, right? Like that's what gets them in the door. But if they come in and the product doesn't match the photos, you're going to have an angry guest. And we don't ever want angry guests. What are your thoughts on this, Chandler? Have you dealt with this as well?
Yeah, oh yeah. I think you can make anything. You can make a lipstick on a page, what you call it. I don't necessarily blame the agent. He's just doing his job. I think that's what you're supposed to do. And I think you told me this story. It's been on the house that he's talking about. It's been on the market for 220 days. And I think it's really the property manager just not keeping up with the house to where it needs to be. Basically, because it needs to look like the photos. Like this house had a pool. The pool's filthy, dirty. It looks clean in the pictures. Outdoor stuff seemed to be really dirty. But that's just keeping it. That's the property manager's job to keep it clean. Real estate agents, especially, let's say you're selling a house, it's hard for you to just go in and keep a house clean for 222 days. But for short-term rentals, yeah, no, I think pictures, you cannot do the expensive, beautiful pictures, and then it's just the home does not match. You have to match the experience with the pictures. Like it has to be, it's one on one. You can't.
Well, this short-term rental that we were looking at almost, is between $1 and $2 million. Like it's a very expensive home. And they knew we were coming. They had at least 48 hours notice, so I did kind of wrinkle my nose when I got there, but I just didn't really think it through like my buyer had. And I thought, well, gosh, they knew we were coming if they would have just at least tried to judge it. But you're right. There was stuff everywhere. There was a pool stuff and the furniture was all skewed around, and then inside, the cabinets were very worn, stuff like that they had kind of hidden very well. But the other thing I want to say is I see this all the time as well with short-term rentals, in that the day you finish the rehab and the decor, that home is gorgeous. And honestly, it's never going to look as good again, right? We both know that. Like day one, we always photograph day one because that's when it's at its best. But as property managers, it's our job to keep that at least close to that level, right? We don't want them to walk in and see that the couch is torn up or, the sheets are threadbare or something like that. Like that's a big part of our job, is we're always having to actually kind of refresh the decor and keep it very similar to the photos, because we don't want this guest to walk in and go, man, those pictures are like 10 years old and this is garbage. We just don't want that.
Yeah, no, I think that, and one thing that's like really for me is like smell. Like the first that smell when you first walk in can be a big deal. I cannot stand when something smells musty. So that's one thing that I'm always kind of looking forward to.
Yeah,
So.
smell is huge. I totally agree.
Yeah, no, I don't blame all this stuff. I don't blame that agent. I think
Right.
maybe it's a property manager. Let's keep the listing up so it can like it sells better when actually people look at it. There's a reason it's been up for sale for over 200 days. It might be because
That's a life lesson in sales. Like if you're going to sell something, do it well, and you got to complete the process, like it doesn't just stop at the photo shoot. And long-term rental, same thing. Like I want accurate, honest photos. I don't want a lot of doctoring. I don't want people to walk in and go, oh, I wanted this. And now, I've seen that actually many times with buyers where they just kind of have this letdown. So anyway, just the psychology of the sale is very interesting to me. I just think honesty is always number one. It has to be priced appropriately and then also photographed appropriately.
no, I agree. Because it's funny, you can like photos make a photo look like the place is like super clean, especially if they brighten the photo up. And it looks nice and clean. And then you get in there, it's like a dark kind of dungy room. That happens a ton. They brighten up the photo. It looks really nice and clean. And then you walk in, it's like one light bulb and it's like a dark, dark room. But yeah, you have to be able to, photos are important. Like that'll be an episode we talk about eventually.
For sure.
I don't really know. That's what I've kind of dialed in on. Some people can't see the difference or understand what photos, because I always, when I'm with the photographers, I'm always talking to them and asking them questions. And it's kind of interesting how they think with photos. They're like, do you want to do light and airy, dark and moody? Like, what are you thinking? I'm like, what are you thinking? And they're like, well, this is like a darker room. Like it's a darker place. Let's go darker. So it's pretty interesting how they think. And it really shows, because like we did a property just recently and the owner called me and he's like, who is that photographer? He's like, when the house was listed for sale, it didn't look like that. And he's like, these are way better.
Yeah.
And you can actually see what the house looks like. Well, this was a darker house. They went with the light and airy photos, so you couldn't really see that it was like this dark, moody home. And yeah, that'll be a whole episode that we'll have to talk about because some people can't see the difference. They don't know. I've noticed some differences. Like a tip is if you see a photographer and you don't see the lights on, they're normally pretty good. That's what I've kind of noticed. I'm like, dang, I don't have the lights on. That's interesting. Or like growing up, me thinking it was like turn every single light
Right.
on, open every single blind, like everything's got to be on.
Turn on the fans.
Yeah, that's a bad mistake now.
No, no, no.
Yeah, it's totally different now. I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to turn all the lights on.
Right.
As you get the more expensive photographers, it's kind of that's what you see. Like, so yeah, interesting. That'd be a good topic to talk about.
Very good. Darker property that we're speaking about. When I first saw the photos, I was like, I wasn't expecting it and I was a little shocked, but then the more I looked at them, they're gorgeous. And this is a luxury home. Luxury photography went with the luxury home, and we are now getting 6,000 a month in, as a medium-term rental for the luxury home. We're getting luxury pricing that matches the luxury photos. We have had zero guest complaints about the price or the property or anything like in there for everyone. And you killed that photo shoot. You chose the exact right photographer for the exact right property, and it was expensive, but completely worth it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets paid back with one photo shoot or with one booking and topic to talk about because I like to show the differences maybe because
Yeah.
you can show like because I have the perfect like before and afters of like they hired a real estate photographer and real estate photographers go in, they set their camera in each corner of the room, take a quick shot. And then this one was more architectural photographer and they get a little bit more creative.
We're investing right with our homeowners. We're going to invest in that property when we take over management, and we invested a chunk into that photo shoot, and it's definitely worked out mostly because of your direction, Chandler, and your decor. But like that's a big deal. We don't make money for a minute, but it shakes out in the end, and it's exciting. We have a very happy owner. He's looking for another one. Like really, really proud of that. But it was all about your eye, and the photography matches the contents perfectly. Curious because I know you went in the other unit that was with that agent that we were speaking about. Were you underwhelmed? Because I actually thought it was great. I was actually very surprised to hear my buyers' feedback on the home because I actually really liked the home. Did you see anything when you went in?
I mean, I thought the first house was good that we saw.
That's the one I was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fine. I mean, if we're talking about those agents, they kind of go think about it. They go above and beyond. They like
Oh,
teach
yeah.
you property. They turn the lights on. Not many agents are like, yep, go in, turn the lights on yourself. Like I have nothing bad about the.
My client felt like the photos didn't match the home, but I was surprised to hear that on that first one. I didn't catch it. And in fact, I even went back and looked at the photos. I was underwhelmed by the decor, but when I looked at it in the photos, it was the exact same decor. So I didn't get it. But I was, like I said, I was very surprised on the second home. And it wasn't the full white glove service that we received on the first showing. So anyway, it's all good. I'm not trying to bash any agent by any means. I just was very interested by my buyer's reaction of, I now don't have any trust. And
Yeah, what I saw in the photos, what I saw in the house.
yeah, that's what I thought as well. Of course, buyers are always going to see it from their perspective and they have every right to it. I just thought it was incredibly insightful feedback. And again, it really applies to the short-term rental world as well. Like if you do a really nice house, you've got to keep it nice. And if you can't, the reviews are going to share that. Whenever I have buyers looking at a short-term rental, I tell them, you can look at the seller's property disclosure, you can look at the listing, you can do anything you want, but go read the reviews. That is where you're going to have the truth on how well that home is maintained, how well it's run, anything that's broken, it's going to be in the review. We find a lot out of those reviews. So that's a big part of due diligence when you're buying a short-term rental, in my opinion, is to read every review you can find. I've found out so much great information on properties.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. That's like really, really good advice actually. Because I mean, those guys will tell you everything. We get a lot of reviews that are like, this property actually matches the pictures. That's a good feeling. You want to be able to match kind of like what you're showing. And then
Right.
another thing is, yeah, they tell everything that's, hey, there was a bad outside. They'll let you know. So
I have a feeling that will be in the review.
what can you say?
What can you say? Guest of the week. You win the award for the most entertaining request for a refund we've ever seen. So to be determined. But anyway, thank you for your time, Chandler. I hope this is interesting to the viewer. We are seeing a lot of different things in real estate, and sometimes it's just fun to talk about them.
Yeah, no, please let us know what y'all want to listen to. We're kind of just talking about what we see. if you see something different that we're not talking about, I know when I listen to podcasts that there's always a question that I want to ask them. Feel free to reach out to us and just ask us, say, hey, talk about this, see what you're seeing. Because at the end of the day, I just want people to be successful. It drives me crazy when I see somebody either just not getting the right advice or just don't know. I want to help people out. If you have any questions, let us know. Please share the videos, like them, comment, subscribe to them, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Fields of green, seeds of sweat I sow. Running numbers, watch the cash trees grow. Cash flow Savannah where the dreamers dwell. Get your hustle on, ring that wealth bell. From the dirt to the gold, every story's untold. Cash flow.